Welcome to Understanding the Why. Today we're going to talk about gym training. Today's goal, improve efficiency in the gym. We will talk about the why behind gym training, and I will always refer to gym training, not strength training, because gym training is more than just strength training. We will also talk about the most common mistakes as well as some background knowledge, but we will not cover specific techniques or exercises because they're very situation specific, exercise specific, and cannot be generally applied. In the end, our goal is max performance on game day, right? So gym training is just one brick in the wall. It's part of our overall athleticism together with our speed training, for example, and can have a direct influence on our performance, but is also the base and kind of preparation for our sport specific athleticism, which we acquire with sport specific training, which is not acquired in a gym. Sport specific training is, for example, American football practice, game day, etc. If we want to get better, we first need to define a goal. This goal will then define the dosage, and the dosage automatically determines physical adaptation. We'll go through that step by step. On the right hand side, you can see the so-called force velocity curve. On the bottom, your x-axis, you can see the velocity meter per second. Your, for example, barbell, so your bar speed, or yourself, your body. On the left hand side, you can see to visualize your force. Now, I would like to switch the term force to external load, because what we're really talking about is the external load. So barbells, dumbbells, your own body mass, etc., and not about internal force. Why is it important? We can generate more internal force with, for example, pogo jumps, where we don't have any external load, than with a 1 rep max back squat with a high external load. So internal force and external load are not the same. And to be more specific, we will talk about external load. Now, potential goals in gym training could be max strength, which is high external load and low speed, usually, which is on the top left. We can have an increase in power as our goal, which would be moderate speed, moderate external load, or speed strength, which is even less external load, even more speed, or our stretch shortening cycle, which is sometimes no external load at all, maybe even assisted with bands, for example, and very, very high speed. I would like to talk just quickly about the stretch shortening cycle, aka plyometrics and pre-stretch, because I have noticed that a lot of athletes do not really know what plyometrics are. They often think that it's the equivalent of just jumping or jumps. Take a look at this illustration. We have 3 parts, A, B, and think about doing pogo jumps. You're in the air and then you're landing on the ground. This is phase A. So you first touch the ground, ideally with your front of the foot, and then your heel will descend towards the ground as well. Within this phase, your muscle tendon unit, so in this case calf muscle and Achilles tendon, will stretch. This is the stretch part of our stretch shortening cycle. Now there's a middle phase, an isometric phase called amortization, and what happens here is that your muscle tendon unit stores the force that you generate while landing, while stretching this muscle tendon unit. And if you then push off the ground again, so perform another pogo jump, so doing a concentric movement, pushing your heel off the ground, if you do that fast enough and soon enough after the stretching part, then you can additionally use this stored energy for the jump, the pogo jump, which is then the so-called shortening part. Now, important to know, there's a slow and fast stretch shortening cycle, which are both very fast, by the way. The fast one is used in hops, pogo jumps, and everything that goes in this category. So very fast movements with not as much, with rather lower amplitudes or jumping heights. And there's the slower stretch shortening cycle, which is used in rather slow but rather high or far jumps, such as box jumps, vertical jumps, broad jumps, etc. So we categorize jumps into two parts: the fast stretch shortening cycle, aka plyometrics, and the slow stretch shortening cycle called pre-stretch, and we utilize this physiological mechanism to improve our training and also jumps. Now, of course, there are more potential goals which we cannot really visualize with this or demonstrate with this external load velocity curve, such as hypertrophy, so increase in muscle mass, or other more specific situations such as tendon issues, mobility, etc. Here's a external load velocity curve by sport. So as you can see on the top left side we have powerlifting. Makes sense. They have to have a high 1 rep max, so slow bar speed, high external load. On the bottom right we have sprinters, very high velocity, no external load. And somewhere in the middle we have American football players. A little bit more to the left and top side we have linemen, because they are usually dealing with less speed and higher external load, blocking for example. And we have receivers, for example, more on the bottom right, which deal more with speed and a little less strength. This also perfectly demonstrates why it's very reasonable to categorize football players into big personal, big skill personal, and skill personal, and adjust their training plans accordingly. Now, in my opinion, it is not necessary to categorize it even more, so do it really position specific. So for example, wide receivers and defensive backs, unless you're a very experienced pro American football athlete, and there are very, very few of them in whole of Europe. The majority can save time and also a lot of money if we don't over individualize it unnecessarily. But that's a whole nother topic. If you're interested, we can talk about it once again in more detail.